Hi amigas, if you clicked this video, it's probably because you're wondering, how do I tackle my personal finances this year? Where should I get started when it comes to my money journey? What should I be doing? And you're in the right place. If you're new here, hello, I'm Danny. I make videos about life as a first-gen Latina and how I'm navigating everything from reaching financial independence, securing my next role, managing my mental health and my relationships with family, with my husband, and really just anything related to my life. And so if you're first gen and you want to see how another first gen is navigating all these life experiences, then welcome to this side of the internet. This is what we do here. Before I jump in to kind of how to think about getting started in your own personal finance journey, I think it'll be helpful to start with my own journey, my own money story, and really how I got started with personal finance and being interested in reaching financial independence. It all started in 2017. I was living at home with my parents in the basement. I had finished a full year of work, my first corporate job out of college, huge deal for me. First time anybody in my immediate family was working in an office job in the city. And I was doing well, right? I was making a salary more than I had ever made before. And I had nothing to show for it in that year that I had been receiving that salary. I still had student loans. I didn't have an emergency savings account. I didn't really have a separate savings account. And I just felt like I was living paycheck to paycheck, right? I would get paid on Friday. And then by the next time I got my paycheck, it was mostly gone. And that's when I was like, okay, something has got to change because this doesn't feel like where I should be. And around that time, I started thinking about money and like having more conversations with colleagues. I was introduced by a former colleague of mine to the book, Your Money or Your Life by Vicki Robin and Joe Dominguez. And that was like my introduction to personal finance. I then dove into all the books, dove into all the podcasts on my hour-and-a-half commute. I was like diving into all things personal finance. And that is when I started to like really think about my own money, how I was spending. I started tracking every single dollar. And I made it a goal to pay off my student loans and to start investing, to start actually making my money grow. Finally, 2 years later in 2019, I had completely paid off my debt. I had $26K that I paid off in those 26 months where I was actively working towards paying off that debt. I had started investing. I also had an emergency fund, and I managed to move out of my parents' basement, all while making an average of $59,000 a year. And since then, my goals have obviously changed on my personal finance journey, and I've been able to make shifts as needed because I have a foundation of where to go with my money, right? What I should be doing, of what I want to be doing. And so that's what we're gonna help you build here. That's what we're gonna get into. We're gonna get into like building that strong foundation for you so that you know what steps to take at whatever stage you're in. Step number one is really getting into the feelings. Feel all the feels. This is where we ask ourselves, why am I doing this? Why now? Why is it that today you decided to Google or search on YouTube a personal finance video? Why did you click on this video today? Is there a specific reason that is bringing you to this kind of content? And the next thing that you want to explore is what pops into your head when you think about why you haven't been able to get started on your money journey? Why haven't you, been able to save? Like, what is the first thing that pops into your head when you think about like, why haven't I been able to start yet? I say like, this is the feelings step because you want to get clear on what your priorities are going to be. And a lot of that stems from how you feel about certain things. A lot of that goes back to the emotional side of why you are going to be making the changes that you're going to be making. Like, what is this all for? You have to have and go back to that purpose. Step two. Step two is really just like the nitty gritty, like we're getting into the numbers here, right? You need to have a visualization of like where everything is, the math behind the personal finance and where you stand today. So that means looking into your income, right? How much are you making on a monthly basis? Are you salaried? Like, what does that look like? What is your monthly, like, necessary expenses? What is the total of that? How much money you have in your bank account, across your checking account, across your savings account? How much money are you spending on a monthly basis? I just put out a video on how I'm budgeting my unemployment money. And in this video, I talk about how I'm now using this tool, Copilot, to like track every single dollar, and I'm not doing it manually anymore. If I was getting started with my money journey, I would be manually tracking every single dollar. There is something different about a tool doing it for you and you going in there and actually putting in every single dollar. It just feels different. And again, we want to really be intentional about how we're spending. That means reflecting on the spending that we just did, or, seeing what feelings come up when we put those numbers in. So tracking that manually, at least for 3 months, until, you're ready to be like, I can offload this to a tool. The next piece that you want to look at is your debt. I have a whole separate video on just like how to get started on paying off your debt that I'm going to link up here, so you can just like watch that if that's one of the main goals that you're tackling. But you want to know how much you owe. You want to know what that interest rate is. You want to make a list of all of your debt. The next number that you want to think about is your investments. Have you started investing? Do you have any money in that 401k, 403b that your work offers? If not, it's fine, but just like put the amount that you have invested. And if a few of these numbers will help you come up with your net worth, right? What is your current net worth? This is your assets minus your liabilities, right? So what you own, like your savings, the money in your savings account, the money in your investments, the money in your checking account, minus the things that you owe. So like all of the money in your debt category. What is this number? Are you in the red? Are you just like at zero? Or are you in the black, which is good, right? You're like, you have more assets than you do liabilities. The last piece is your credit score. You want to understand like where you are right now in the credit score number. What does that look like? Have you looked at this before? Has it gone up, down since the last time you checked? What is your credit score? The reason why we look at all these numbers is it gives you kind of like a guideline for your own, like, where do I go next, right? It helps you think through, okay, I don't like the number that I'm seeing in my net worth, or I don't like that my credit score is low based on what, a good credit score falls under, and I'm trying to move out of my parents' basement, so I might need to have a good credit score. So all of these numbers and just writing this all out helps you get a picture of where you currently stand and how and what is making you feel some type of way when you look at these numbers, right? Anything feel heavier than the other, make a note of that. Because step 3 is kind of like what people recommend that we do online. And ultimately, the decision of what you choose to prioritize for your money to get you started on your money journey is up to you. No one on the internet, even if they say like, do this first, do that first, is gonna know your specific financial situation. Nobody on the internet is gonna know that. So ultimately, it's on you to make the decision of what you want to prioritize as you embark in this money journey. First thing I like to think about is if you were to get laid off today, if you were to get fired, whatever, lose your job today, based on the money you have in your accounts, checking and savings, and your spending, how long would you be able to be okay without income? Because unemployment, based on my experience, could take a long time to get. It took us about 4 months to actually get my unemployment. How many months do you have, days do you have until you really need to start bringing in income? That gives you an understanding of, do you have a decent emergency fund? 22%, according to a bank rate report, 22% of US adults have no emergency savings. So where are you in this percentage? Are you one that, has some, or you have enough in that emergency savings and now you're like, I don't know what else to do because I have the emergency savings, where else do I save? Or is it that you don't have anything at all? That could be something that you think about prioritizing first, because again, if something were to happen to your job, that's it. you fall onto credit cards. And a lot of professionals like recommend saving 3 months of your living expenses. But if that sounds like a lot, just start with something. Start with something, just start to get into the habit of saving for a what if day. And the second thing you might want to take a look at is your spending, right? How is your spending? Are you spending more than you're making? Right now, both my partner and I are unemployed. So we are spending more than we are getting from unemployment. Not great, not a great situation to be in, but because we have savings, it's okay right now until we find those jobs. But we will need to find those jobs. How is that spending for you? Are you spending over the income that you make? Or are you spending under and have leftover money? If you are spending over the amount that you make, then maybe you want to consider thinking about how to start intentionally spending, how to minimize some expenses that you have. Think about your big 3 items: your housing, your transportation costs, and your food. Those are the 3 categories where people tend to spend the most amount of money. Are there areas in these 3 categories where you can pare down? If you literally have already reduced all of your spending as much as you can, then the problem might be that you're not making enough, right? So just be honest about yourself. If you feel like the problem isn't that your income is too low, but that you're spending too much, then that's fine. But just be honest about it. The third kind of thing that you might want to focus on is your debt. If you have high interest debt, that's really expensive debt that you might want to consider tackling first. And then you might want to think about your low interest debt. But prioritizing that high interest debt that is costing you a lot of money could be where you prioritize. I have, again, a video on how to tackle your debt. I'm gonna remind you to go check that out because I think it depends on the individual person and the way that you kind of receive certain financial wins, right? Like if for you, it's more important to get debt paid off immediately, then it might be easier for you to tackle the debt that has the smallest amount of balance, even though it's not high interest debt. It's all based on your personality and the way that you handle seeing certain debt and your feelings around money. Everybody's going to be different. So consider that. The next piece is the retirement piece, right? Have you started investing in your retirement? If not, why not? Does your employer offer, a 401k or 403b that you can take advantage of and, start investing in your retirement? Or if there's no access to a 401k, 403b, I didn't have access to any retirement account when I was at an early stage startup. They just didn't offer that as a benefit. And so if that's not an option for you, then look into opening a retirement account that's not associated to an employer. So a Roth IRA, traditional IRA, all of these accounts can be opened regardless of who your employer is. You just have to be making income. And now step 4 is the most important step. It is to take action. Like I mentioned before when I was sharing my own story, I was reading a lot, I was listening to podcasts, but I also took action. And I think sometimes we can be in this phase where we're just like, I need to know it all before I do one thing. It delays us from reaching our financial goals. Let's take a step towards where we want to be, even if it's not 100% perfect. So I wanted to give you a few action items for you to take after watching this video. Number 1 is if you are still using your checking account to also act as your savings account, or you have a savings account open with your checking account bank and it's not a high yield savings account, open a high yield savings account. There are so many options out there. You can spend a lot of time here alone just learning about the different options. Don't do that. They're all pretty much the same. Pick one. In terms of retirement, send an email to HR, to your manager, and be like, does company name offer a 401k/retirement account benefit? That's the action you took. Wait for a response. If yes, enroll. If no, then open a robo-advisor. If you're not ready to invest and buy investments yourself through a brokerage firm, then going through a robo-advisor is fine. Just to get you started. That's what I did. The first account that I opened was with Ellevest. And it's a robo-advisor. I just said I wanted to open a Roth IRA and said I could contribute X amount per month. And they did the buying of the investments for me. When I was ready to pick out the investments myself, I said, hey, just want to, transfer my funds over to this other brokerage. And it was a simple transfer. I didn't withdraw the money, but I transferred it over to another account when I was ready. But I didn't wait until I was ready. I did it even if I wasn't 100% sure how to buy specific investments. Another action you can take, very simple action you can take, is open that Google Sheet, open a blank Google Sheet, open a blank Excel, buy the Amigas Get Money Tracker, and start manually tracking your expenses from the last 7 days. Just start there. Just start there. Doesn't need to be anything perfect. Just start putting the date, the total, what category this was, and a little note for yourself. Start tracking. That's it. Some action items that you can take. Start there, but start. If you do one of these actions, let me know. Let's keep each other accountable. Also, I want to know what you're working towards. I want to know your why. Why are you watching a personal finance video? What is bringing you to want to improve your finances? Let us know in the comments. And I hope this was helpful. I hope that you feel like, okay, now I know where to start or what I should be thinking about. But most importantly, take action. It doesn't need to be anything big, but just start doing something, right? Start doing something. It's time for you to take action. So I'll leave you at that. And if you found this helpful, please like it, subscribe, tell a friend about our channel, and I will see you all next week. Bye.